I can't tell you what Mandela has done.
I'm a good-looking rapper, I ain't lying to you. I'm a good-looking rapper, I ain't lying to you. You might see me in a Bentley painted royal blue with a white interior on a set of 22.
What's up, everybody? This is Enrique from Milwaukee OATS Screen Printing, #T-shirt booming, and today we're kicking off a podcast. We got an awesome guest. We got somebody who does a lot of work in the community. He's an entrepreneur. He's an artist, an overall great person. So today we got Ray Nitti. What's up, Ray?
What up with you, man?
Not much, man. So basically, I appreciate you coming to do this podcast with me. I kind of just want to jump right into it and talk about how we met. Do you remember how we met?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, it was at Urban Underground. I had an office. We had a Fly Entertainment office upstairs from Urban Underground at the time, which is a youth leadership program led by Reggie Moore and Charlene Moore that I was a part of when I was like 17 or 18. And I think you were working there through Public Allies, who has done a bunch of work with Urban Underground in the past. So, I think that's how we first encountered each other at Urban Underground.
Yeah, so I remember like coming into Urban Underground. It was a new space for me. You know, I was always doing work on the south side. But I met with Charlene. She gave me the job, and she said that like my skills, which was screen printing and art, could help out with the initiatives that they were working on. So Charlene was just always somebody who kind of gave me like free reins to just be innovative, and you know, she supported anything I did. So what was like the first experience when you were at Urban Underground, like the first couple days, first couple weeks, or like what made you stay and stick it out?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. My first experience was kind of rough, only because we went to Fright Fest? I almost said Freak Fest. Fright Fest, right? At it was Fright Fest at
Six Flags.
At Six Flags.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm from the island, so I don't do well with cold. So it was like October for sure, cold as ever, man. And we was just on these rides, and it was just a very cold experience for me. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing these cold outings. But that was kind of like my first experience with Urban Underground. It was a very cold one, like literally cold. But the people was dope. The other students that we met with was pretty dope. Everybody else had a great time, but I just remember being extremely cold that day. But I think once we got done with that initial icebreaker event at Six Flags, and we got into our sessions, like it was really therapeutic in a sense for me. It was allowing me to open up about a lot of things that I was dealing with. So yeah, I think once we had got through some of the writing sessions, we did the retreat. The retreat was pretty dope. I think that was one of the second days. We did the Six Flags event, and then after that we had the retreat out at the cabin in the woods where everybody got to know each other and met each other.
Was it in Wisconsin Dells?
No, it wasn't. I don't know where it was at, but it was at some campgrounds, to be honest with you. But it was a dope experience. That was actually my first time doing any type of camping. It was log cabin camping. But that was my first time doing anything like that. And to see so many different people just kind of being vulnerable with each other and trusting the environment that we was in, that like, you know, we could just be our young selves and strip down any barriers that we may have been holding up in front of us throughout our high school years.
Yeah, that's dope. And I see like Urban Underground like continues to have that kind of impact on young people.
Absolutely.
But you talked about it being cold. So like, were you already in high school in Milwaukee, or did you just move and then you were impacted by like the weather here?
No, so I'm still impacted by the weather here, to be clear.
All are.
I am still very much impacted by the weather here, but I moved here in 1998. Was it? I was probably 8th grade. Went to John Burroughs Middle School. That was a culture shock. not more so of the cold, because at that point I still had like a weird appreciation for snow, because I had never really seen snow until like that first summer, that year I came up. No, I haven't seen snow at all until we had moved in 8th grade year. So like still feeling real, like, oh, it's snow, man. I always wanted to see snow coming from the islands. And then I did that one thing when you go outside and play flag football and you don't have gloves on. And I'm like, what? This freak cold, my boy. My hand them freezing. So I'm like, damn, my hands is so cold that they burning at this time. So I've never felt cold that made my hands hot. So that was the initial culture shock for me with the weather, but the other shock was just more so the people too. Back in St. Thomas, we did this thing called chanting, which is more so freestyling, but in the Caribbean dialect, I guess is what we could call it. So I always did those type of things, but never to the point of like, yo, I'm in the studios. I'm really... Now, I had a cousin, my cousin Freights, that stayed with us. He moved from St. Lucia. He always wrote music, like wrote songs, and like the way he wrote songs, how he led stories into each other. I got my writing early from him, like learning how he wrote songs and making subjects connect and things like that. So I was always around people that was doing music. Back then it was a band called Jam Band. It was Daddy Friday was the big singer back then. He's a legend in St. Thomas. They had the streets on lock, really, as far as the music, soca, calypso music, things of that nature. And I always wanted to get into that aspect of the music, but you damn near needed to know people that played instruments, because back home a lot of the shows and performances is a ton of live instrumentation. Right. You'll have a tuba, brass, you'll have strings, guitars, you'll have everything up there, all to just come together for this performance. So I always wanted to be a part of like some things like that. But it wasn't until I got to Milwaukee that I really like locked in on the music aspect through Urban Underground. The writing camp is where I was able to tap into emotions now, whereas back in St. Thomas you were just doing it for fun at lunchtime with your homies. And Urban Underground showed me to like, okay, express a lot of that pain that you're dealing with, a lot of that trauma that you don't clearly want to talk to us about, just write it down. That's what Muhib Dair and Kwabena Nixon was the poets that came to Urban Underground on that day. And they did a poem, well, Muhib did a poem called The Children Are Crying. And I just felt like that poem was really talking about me. It was a young man that saw his mom in an abusive relationship, that really just wanted the attention from his father, but he wasn't getting it. So he lashed out in school. He lashed out in all of these different ways. He got caught up in different things. And you know, like hearing that is like, damn. I kind of just erupted emotionally in the middle of the class, and they came up and was like, man, whatever it is that you're dealing with, like, you don't have to tell us your problems. Just tell the paper, write it down. And if you feel like reading it out loud, then you can. If you feel like performing it out loud, that you can. But let the writing be your therapy. Let the reciting be your healing. So that's when I kind of really got into the music, and from there, poetry transitioned into music for me because I wanted to make money. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really see too many poets getting a check, getting to a bag like that back then. And then even...
Do you think that was a cultural thing? Coming from the islands, always like, you know, being not necessarily forced to be like that entrepreneur, but I know like, because my dad's from Mexico, so I'm first generation. So when I was a kid, I was always trying to hustle. I was always trying to sell candy. I was trying to like knock on doors, cut grass. Yeah. So being an artist, being like the person that like, you know, loved their poems and like, you know, identified with what they were saying, you were like, all right, I'm talented at this. I could make this into a hustle. Let me try to sell this. Is that something that you would say?
I would say I definitely got a lot of hustle from the islands, the Caribbean, watching my mom have to work. And even me and my dad didn't have the best relationship. Like, he was there, but he was abusive, but not there. I still at least saw him attempt to start businesses or something like that. You know what I mean? So did it pan out how it should have? Probably not, but I at least saw my mom get up and work 3 jobs every day and drag me to work with her, to where I'm wiping off tables and things of that nature in offices with her. So I always saw like work ethic, but I always also knew like that ain't the type of work that I want to do at all. Like, I'm straight on this, mama. I know you getting to it, but I'm not trying to clean tables. I'm not trying to back home. Like, Caribbean people, a lot of women fall into nanny jobs. So you see your mom raise a lot of other people's kids
families
as well. And then she still was working in childcare. She was still at Developmental Learning Center at the time. Going there, and then after that, still having to go to the job, another job to clean up, and then getting off that job to have to night shift watch somebody else's kids. So I always seen my mom hustle, and I think for me, I just wanted to hustle smarter though. Like, that was what it was.
So the hustle was always in you, and then you found like you were able to make music or make your art,
and then turn it into something. Yeah.
So do you remember your first day in the studio? Like, how was that?
Damn, my first day in the studio. That's a great question. I feel like I do remember my first day in the studio, man. I was still in high school, too. It had to be senior year. It was the homie Chris. He stayed off of Mill Road with us off of Clover Nook. He had this group called it was Big Business. His name was Big Business, and the other guy name was Lil Hog. And it was me, the homie Deuces, and one other homie from the block. And we was the Quarter Boys.
The Quarter Boys?
Yeah.
Did you have a rap name?
Back then, I was T Black.
T Black.
Why? Because they said I looked like Tim Thomas, man. Like Tim Thomas had played for the Bucks, and I always rocked Adidas headband upside down. So they used to call me T Black, man. I was like, damn, this ain't got nothing to do with me, but we gonna ride because it's gonna get me in the studio. But we did a song, man, the Quarter Boys. I remember it was in I can't remember the name of the store, but it used to be a CD store on like 76, the 76 and Mill Road Plaza, between like Silver Star and the beauty store. It used to be like you got to go down in it, but went in there and bought like 4 copies of my own stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, oh man, people keep coming in here and buying these. I'm like, yeah, it's me all the time buying, switching clothes on you,
switching headbands.
Right. Yeah. So that was it, man. That was that.
Okay. So what was your first song? Do you remember like the content, what you were talking about?
First song. It was it Big Buttons.
Big Buttons?
It was called Big Buttons. What you riding on? Big Buttons. Big Buttons. What you riding on? Big Buttons. Yeah, they let us feature on them songs. Yeah.
So that was like the wave where people were wearing like oversized T-shirts.
No, not buttons. Like
no, I hear you talking about rims.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'm saying like what you were wearing back then was like big T-shirts, Draboji.
Yeah, that had to be around. It was like you had the big buttons on your shirts.
No.
But no, yeah, I think that had to be that era, man. Back then, everybody wore everything super baggy.
Yeah.
We just fashionably like couldn't figure it out, I guess, for some reason.
But everybody was with it.
Everybody was doing it, but then you look at it like it look kind of goofy, man. Like a 4XT to your shins, like just get a blouse
or a robe
or a skirt.
Yeah. But then that brings me to Bow.
Okay.
Because when I was in high school, and this kind of makes me think about like my role at Urban Underground with high school students. So when I was in high school, my ringtone was Bow. I think I had Bow. I had some like Fabulous, like Lil Wayne song, and then I had like Lil Wayne Kush in high school. Those were the 3 ringtones that I remember. And then when I got to meet you, I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, I was trying to show everybody, like, yeah, I know this guy. But like, I was watching the video, you had dancing involved, you know, which was like super popular back then. I remember like Young Jock had like It's Going Down. There was a dance to that. Soulja Boy. Yeah. Your song had that. Like that shoulder shuffle or what, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, a little shimmy.
But I noticed you had some sunglasses in there with like
the flip joint. Yeah.
So what was your inspiration around that?
For the sunglasses?
Yeah.
Man, I just felt like I remember seeing him on an old TV sitcom, and I was like, "Damn, he got double glasses. That's kind of cool." And like, I look at the video now and be like, "That's kind of corny," but
that was a time.
Then,
yeah,
ain't there wasn't too many people just really rocking the flip ups like that.
Yeah.
So
for me, it's important to understand what people need, and in order to do that, you have to have empathy and put yourself in their shoes. That's what being a leader is all about, especially living in Milwaukee. There's something about the city that engraves itself in you. The art, the culture, the music, the food, the diversity. I have my days too where I feel like I'm not doing enough. But when I see the way these young people look at me, it encourages me to keep on. Yeah, I was just trying to bring up that Bow because that had a huge impact on like me and like people around me, everybody. Especially being from Milwaukee, the last person that we really had was Cuckoo Cal, and that was way before my time. Yeah. So like having everybody have their ringtone, and then having this person so close, it was like dope for us because then we were like, oh, we had pride in our own city. Like, oh, this is dope. He's a Milwaukee artist. So that brings me to like the point because you had like Brandon Jennings. This is when like the Bucks just got out of like a horrible season. Now we're finally getting some good players. So people are excited about like what's next for like the city. Everybody's wearing Brandon Jennings jerseys. I don't know if you had a big chain or he had a big chain. And
I think I might have had the Ray Nitti chain at that time.
And then to see that, like, we only seen that in like Atlanta, New York, on the South, or wherever it was. And then to see that here in Milwaukee, it was super dope for us. So do you think like your music and like the stuff you do was important for you to kind of connect with youth after the fact that you were a part of Urban Underground?
Yeah, absolutely. It was always the main focus because I feel like that's what influenced the young generation the most, the music, the culture. If we look at just the history of Milwaukee music, and we don't even got to go far back. We could start from the Baby Drew, Cuckoo Cal era, right? And if we want to go way back to the G2 Key days and all of them days, that's probably before I got here. But just look at the sound and how it changed. Cuckoo Cal, Baby Drew, they told the stories of the streets. You feel what I'm saying? They were very entrenched in telling those stories, and the culture, in my opinion, reflected that. You know what I mean? Wide body, riding that. Like what they talked about, people lived out as well. And then transitioning from Cuckoo Cal, Baby Drew era, I felt like we had Ice Moan that came. He, in my opinion, switched the tempo to dance, right? He was making folks dance. And then you had Duck Walk that came, Genesis came with Duck Walk. But even then, in a sense, Milwaukee still wasn't necessarily, in my opinion, just like being extremely supportive of the local scene. It was still very hard to get DJs to play your records. Now, for me, I saw switching that around Ray Rizzy. When Ray Rizzy dropped I'm Jackin', he took over. The streets was back locked in now. Now he's telling those stories of the streets, 29th and Capitol, all of these stories. Now, when Rizzy dropped I'm Jackin', I felt like he made, like, because it was so dope and the city was rocking with it so tough, it made all the DJs have to play it, right? So now what that did, in a sense, to me was open a door to where, like, the culture now is like, okay, Milwaukee artist is doing something here. Let's see what's really going on. Shortly after I'm Jackin', Bow came out. So now with Bow, we was just very intentional about tempo, sound, and all of that. When Bow came out, we wanted to make sure it was everywhere, the streets, everywhere that it was at. So we made sure we did that, and we changed the sound again. Now everybody was dancing. But not only was everybody dancing, everybody also went to Rail to get a beat. So Rail that did the Bow beat, now everybody going to Rail to get a beat. So not only did we change the tempo, we changed the sound as well, because everybody, Cuckoo Cow had a sound, Big Hank and them, when they was making those beats. They had the sound. And then Rail had the sound, because when we was doing what we was doing, like, if you wanted a slap in the city, you had to go see Rail. And then from there, I just felt like it was a snowball of, like, okay, the floodgates was open for Milwaukee talent. Like, people were now in tune. You had Young Legend pop up. You had Oki with Booty Hop. You had Jack It Down with Teach You How to Jack. You had Eastside El Boog. Then you had right hand bouncing, left hand bouncing. Then you just had a slew of Milwaukee artists that was able to now make waves in the city, to the point where now you could run a whole club night and just play Milwaukee music. So to me, that was I felt like it was necessary. And just to go back to the premise of your question is, because the music has such influence on the culture, I think it was important to make sure we're always at least challenging the young generation to come up, to be intentional about their messaging. I'm never gonna tell somebody to make no corny record and like, oh, kumbaya, kumbaya. Like, that's not what they want to do. I know that's not what I always wanted to do. But stay true to you and what your stories that you want to tell, but I just challenge them to do it a different way. Yeah, you could say F the ops, right? You want to say F the ops in a record, but like, okay, like, do you have to say F the ops in that way? Can you intelligently say that exact same thing using some different words? One, because we're gonna have to pay to clean this up in the studio anyway, if you wanted to get paid to play it on the radio. So I'm all about maximizing time and money in the studio. If we don't have to go back and spend $100 to go edit a record, then why do it? So try to teach them in, like, creating messages and songs, like, be intentional about it.
Yeah, so that makes me think about, like, going back to Urban Underground. So it sounds like Reggie and Miss Charlene had your attention, but from your music and thinking about all the other artists, they had the attention of young people, or they had the attention of the community. So how does, like, music and community organizing, like, play like a role in working together? But at the same time, like, nobody's gonna listen to an artist if they sound corny. If you're over here trying to, like, preach to me, they're only gonna listen to you if one, they connect with you, they think you're dope, and then later you're able to give them that medicine, but disguise it as, like, a soda or something, right? So why is that important? And, like, how do we use our art or the attention that we have, our clout, to, like, mobilize our community?
Man, for me, once again, I just think it's all about challenging people to, like, if we being honest, man, a lot of the things that cats doing right now is corny. If we gonna be honest about it, ain't like nothing cool about,
like, stolies, shooting at people.
Like, ain't nothing cool about it. Who wants to really live like that? That's a lot of anxiety.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To feel like, I don't want to live like that. I want a life of peace. I don't want to be over my shoulders looking like that's corny. That's a corny way to live to me. And then, like, what's even cornier is you have young artists that look at that lifestyle and glorify it, and then they don't even really be of that life, but they'll put it in the music and perpetuate those mantras. So now when a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year, because that's how young they are listening to this music, you know what I mean? When they starting to listen to it now, not only are they listening to just misguided messages, but they are listening to misguided messages by people that
don't actually do what they're talking about.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's ultimately corny. Like, why would you even? So I'm not knocking nobody that, you know, that's of this street life and telling their stories. Do that. Get it out. You know what I'm saying? But I still think as artists, man, we got a responsibility to shift the energy, shift the frequency, shift the culture. Else, it's just going to be war zone all the time. Right. And I refuse to be... Tell me if I've yet to meet a street homie that's like, I want to continue doing this. This is what I want to continue living my life like this. We go to the House of Correction and the county jail every Tuesday and Thursday. And I've yet to have a conversation where somebody has sat me down and be like, Nitti, man, I really want you to help me find a way that I could keep doing this street shit. Like, I gotta keep doing this. I need to. No. The conversation is like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being back in here, man. I'm tired of my kids having to see this. I want to show my kids something different. So that's my point of it, man. Like,
yeah, that reminds me of a TED Talk I listened to where this guy was talking about, because he was always one of the smartest students in school, and he was always like a leader in anything he did. But there was like something that happened in his life. I don't remember what it was, but he talked about like he didn't get the attention that he wanted in school or at home. So then he went to like the streets and got the attention. So then he started to put on this mask that really wasn't him. But since he was a leader, he became the best at it. He became the best at this like alter ego or this like character he was playing in the streets. So then he came home and he would take that mask off and go back to like the family person. But after a couple months, after a year, he started to walk around with the gun. He started to walk around with the knife. And then he would come home and that mask was harder and harder for him to take off. So he was like telling himself who he wasn't, but then he was telling himself that so many times that he actually became that. And since he was a leader, all of these people who were misguided or who felt like they didn't connect to certain things followed him. And they didn't know why they were doing it, because nobody wakes up thinking like, oh, I'm going to commit crime, I'm going to go steal, I'm going to do bad, I'm going to hurt people. They do that because they're misguided or they might not have certain resources.
Or mentally unstable.
Exactly. So there's something missing.
Yeah.
So I like what you said about like being able to, as an artist, like your responsibility is to kind of like, okay, tell your story, but at the same time be responsible with it.
It's the messaging. Like people, it's the messaging and the rhythms. You feel what I'm saying? The messaging is the mantras that we repeat over and over and over and every day. You continue to repeat a mantra, is eventually gonna act it out. If I wake up every day and I say, peace be still, today will be a positive day, my mind is on the...
It's on a mission is to
I'm
complete
gonna have a positive day. Right. But if I'm free, I'll never. Then that's the energy, that's the frequencies that you're putting out there. So it's all the vibrations, man, that people put out there. I just think, man, we can't convince anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. We can only lead by example and show that, hey, another way is possible. That's it. And you know who the most powerful people in this city is right now? It's your Guapo Chapos, it's your Looney Babies, it's your Little Chickens, your MT Twins. They the ones everybody, like, yeah, they listening to me, but they really listening and following those individuals. And those individuals really living that life that they talk about. But then you have a generation of artists that will try to perpetrate those artists You know what I'm saying? Who not really living like these artists living. And then now people thinking like, oh, anybody could do it now because this person did it, and I know they ain't like that. So now everybody ops, it's just, I don't know, bro. I just think the ones that do got the power and influence, like they, you know, it's up to them. They could do something if they decide to. I just could only control what I can in myself. I could have conversations with as many artists as I want to, but it's gonna be up to them to really make that conscious effort to be like, all right, I'm gonna challenge myself to, I ain't saying sell out, but I'm saying change your tone, change your frequencies, how you, like, what is it to build a brother up instead of kill him on a record? Like I know everybody got somebody that they lost. Let's tell them stories. I'm not shocked that we're seeing a heightened level of violence and just bullshit in our communities. It's a heightened level in the music.
Right, it's like if I plant a bunch of like carrot seed, I'm gonna probably eat carrots.
Come on, it's gotten so much to the point that even R&B singers is
trying to fight.
Is rappers that really can't rap, so they harmonize with auto-tune and talk the same shit.
No, that's deep.
I'ma kill you still. It's just sing it.
That's wild.
Which is even more, in my opinion, dangerous because the melodies, now it's easier to sing, it's melodic, it feel good, this shit feel right. I'm going to go kill him because it feels so good. It sounded so good. Murder on My Mind. What's the melody song?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful. It sounds beautiful, don't it? But if you listen to the message,
he's gonna go kill somebody.
And he did.
Yeah.
And he did. It's the mantras, man. It's the mantras and the messaging, fam.
So couldn't like a formal leader, like in a local elected, kind of like help with those kind of things, or like what's their power? Like why can they impact the community, or can they even do
tell
it?
Me. How long have we been having elected officials?
For all of our existence.
All right. How long has the state of Milwaukee this is improved?
To me, I think it has. There's some improvements, but I don't think those improvements came from local electeds.
Where's the improvements you saw?
I see it in like the music artists or like the community leaders or the people like Charlene, the people like Reggie, who are actually like, even like True Schools, and even there's so many other organizations that are hands-on with young people, giving them the message that they need. But it doesn't have to just be young people. There's other great orgs that like Sojourner Family Peace Center. Like there's so many, you know, that are actually like working with people where they're at to just like have an impact. But that only gets you so far. So like me, if I'm a person who can give young people some like positive messages, right? I'm only one person. I still got my life. I still got my bills. I still got my family. I still got I got a dog. I got to do the dishes. Like there's so many things that I have to do. And then I have to protect my peace so that I can continue to do these things. So why are we...
I want you to listen to everything you just said, right? So everything you just said that you have to do to protect your peace, then pile all the inner city bullshit on top of what you just said you're responsible for. Like, I mean, on top of you having a dog, you got to protect your peace, you poor. The lead laterals are terrible coming to your house. It's abandoned houses surrounding you. It's drug-infested needles on your walk to school. This is your everyday thing that you see every day. That's normal now. You gonna care about me coming and say, hey man, change the way you speak to that young lady,
right? Or
man.
Pull up your pants, or yeah.
The younger generation, in my opinion, they're so rebellious against any older or advice that seems like coming from people elder than them, because they looking at the older people like, man, y'all the reasons we, like, y'all showed us how to be like this. Y'all raised us in this mess. Y'all allowed us to be delinquent. Like these is folks that's like they parents is my age. They went, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we got to be looking at ourselves. Like how do you expect a young person that you just said all of this stuff that you got, bro, and you ain't hurting. You ain't like, yeah, you may have had some past trauma and hurt that may still manifest, but think of all of those current problems that you talked about, which sound like a lot. Now pour all the normal problems of it,
right,
of the inner city on top of it.
Yeah, so that's one thing I think about. So going back to what you said about like the young people are super rebellious because of they think their elders are the reason why they're in those situations, right? So when I think of like the people that you said have some of the most power, like Chapo, Looney, Chicken, you know, like Solo Key, like those type of people.
Yep.
Can we blame them for any of this stuff, or do we have to blame the generation that like allowed them to, you know, have to sell?
We can't blame them. We can't blame, because at this,
do we blame anybody?
Somebody showed them too.
Do we blame the system?
Man.
And then how do we change that
easy.
system?
That's easy to blame the system.
Right.
That's easy. But at some point we gotta buy out of the system. We gotta stop. And when I say buy out of the system, I mean simple things like
so we should just not vote. I'm
not even saying that. I think we do need to vote. We need to vote for the right people.
And how do we identify the right people? Because I'm on social media. I get like this guy who looks like me. He looks like me. He's talking about the stuff I'm talking about. But then I see him not doing what he's talking about.
By their work. A person could tell you whatever they want to tell you. Show me the work you did, though. Show me what you done. All these elected officials, show me what you. It's a website where you could go online and pull up all the bills, all the legislation that elected officials had either sponsored, authored, supported.
And you can see where they spent their money too, right?
You can see who donated to their campaign. I follow the money.
Exactly.
Who's donating to this political candidate and why? Okay, this political candidate don't have our best interests in mind on the north side or the south side. So why would this person be giving all of this money to this person? And then you go back and see, okay, this person gave this money to the former whoever so-and-so. We got to do our own research,
right,
man. We got to stop waiting for people to tell us what to do and do our own research. But then once again, because so many misguided leaders have been telling these misguided messages, just like young people have tuned out, humans in general, and I don't even think this a black and brown thing. I think humans in general of all races are pretty fed up with the state of politics, from Republican to Democrat to all of that shit. It's just, everybody's just full of just BS. Yeah,
so I'm one of those people. You know, I ran for office, but right now, like my main focus was kind of just like the community work I've been doing, helping like the young people with the workforce development skills and stuff like that. So when I'm hearing all these people talk about the elections that are coming up, I'm getting phone calls. You know, I went to some of the volunteering meetings and kind of, you know, gave some resources, connected some people. So I still care about the community, but politics has kind of been something that like is draining for me. So this Senate, we were talking about this earlier. So why do we pick specific candidates? So the candidate that you brought the nomination forms for, that's somebody I just support for many reasons, you know, over other people that I've supported. So one of the reasons was in 2020 I worked for the host committee. Which is a Democratic National Convention, like local sector that kind of like.
He had a big hand in getting the convention here.
And for me, I noticed the huge impact that had on not only me personally. That was like one of the highest paying jobs I had. But I was given a leadership position for the Latino community. I was director of community engagement at a national organization. So for me, that impacted me in so many ways. I was connected to so many people. But then I started to see where the money started to go to. I started to see like people that I was a public allies with who are part of this organization get resources from it. I started to see all these people, community people, in these meetings. Prior to that, in 2018, I worked for Tony Evers and Tammy Baldwin. I worked on those campaigns that we overthrew Scott Walker. So that was a huge accomplishment. But none of the resources were in the communities that I was engaging with when I was at Urban Underground. So to see in 2020 this person who had a huge impact on where the money was being spent, what communities were being mobilized, for me, I realized that this person actually cares about Milwaukee. Whereas me on this campaign, we're not even targeting our communities. You know, they're telling us to stay away from those communities that we rather put our resources in.
And you know why they say that? Because we don't vote. So they like, all right, we ain't gonna spend the money to even go deploy resources to even knock on those doors or reach those people, because all they care about is who's gonna actually vote. Because it's a database.
Yeah,
oh, this person voted. Oh, this person ain't never voted. We're not knocking on that door.
Right.
Why? They automatically assume it's a waste of time. But for me, them the doors I want to hit, because that's the sleeping giant that when those voters wake up and get engaged, black and brown folks, we'll be able to turn any election. But because we've had such a bad taste in our mouth, black, brown, and white people, I think, and more specifically the younger generation too, is what I'm speaking of, younger generation. I would say, let's say 35 and under. I'm 38, so I'm not even including myself in that no more. But 35 and under, I feel like they're super disengaged, and that's all races, because they just sick of the way that they're seeing capitalism and greed is just corrupting the country and the world. And that's just that's why I do feel we do have a unique opportunity to unite as all people, is around everybody being sick of politics in general.
I think of Milwaukee when I think of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's U.S., so he's not going to just be in Milwaukee.
Correct.
So what I think about is there's another U.S. Senate candidate.
It's a few of them
that I think of that his marketing is Milwaukee. 53206. Why Alex Lasry over Mandela? For U.S. Senate, let's just say that, because I'm sure you support Mandela in other ways for other things.
Man, I'll put it like this. I look at people work. I'm going to keep it real. Like, do I think he's a good dude? Sure. But we talking about the future of black, brown, and white lives.
Right.
Like, we sending somebody to the U.S. Senate to be on our behalf. If I can't even get on your calendar and I know you, but I could hit Alex up 2 days and he's coming to tour our development, but I can't get... It's the largest in the state history. We got the largest development in state history. So I'm rocking with who rocking with me. I'm not throwing blind support around no more. I've tried that. I've tried to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, nah, I'm giving people the benefit of the truth in their actions now.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that. And
it ain't nothing personal.
No, I feel that. I feel that 100%. And that's one thing that, I've seen, like, being a community organizer and then being a Democratic community organizer for the Democratic Party. I seen how different it was. I seen that, like, we were talking about this stuff. We were talking about helping these communities. We would wear the shirts that say we're helping these communities. We'd put the signs in our grass that said we're helping these communities. But then I had an example of something that I created. So I created like a youth organizer position. It was all volunteer position. So I had 2 young people that I met through Urban Underground come to like make phone calls for me. I was running late. I had to pick up canvas packets. I had to pick up phone call lists because I had 5 different neighborhoods. These 2 young black girls got a ride to the Bayview office. That's the Democratic headquarters. There was I don't want to say the guy's name, but he's a prominent figure right now with the party, and he kind of gave them like what are you all here for?
I would say the names.
And
they
kicked him out.
This is the thing too, though. Like we got to like.
What's the chair's name?
Oh, see, I don't know.
I think he's the chair.
I don't know.
A white dude, but at the time he was a managing. What's the stash guy who ran for like Congress? Mm-hmm. They call him like Steel Stash or something like that. He had like 5 DUIs.
Dang. I don't know who this is. We gotta look him up though.
Yeah. So he ran as like a Democrat. He ran for Congress in 2018, but it was one of his guys. They were running like a fundraising phone bank or something, and they kicked these 2 little girls out. One, because I believe because they were black. They were like, what are y'all doing here? But this dude is like on his Instagram, Facebook, Black Lives Matter, this and that. But his actions didn't even like connect with what his message was. But then I see that so often within the party and within like politics. So that makes me like...
And that's what we got to stop being silent about too, though.
It makes me wonder like why are these people like marketing themselves as like they're putting their flag down as like I'm this, but when that community needs them, where are they?
That's politics.
Yeah.
That's Tom Barrett was he was Uncle Tom. He was you know what I'm saying? Everybody loved Tom Barrett. You couldn't pay me to say nothing bad about Tom Barrett. Then when I really sat back and all the smoke and mirrors were gone, it was like, damn, Tom, you just really did a good job at like being everywhere and being impressionable to everybody, but you ain't do shit. Our lead levels is worse than Detroit, than Flint, Michigan's. Like, and then you bail, you dip on the town to go get a better job and leave us in this, like you did a great job and then like we running off these false facts like he just left the city in a bed. No, the truth is Milwaukee is now the worst place to raise black and brown kids. It's the #1 place for African Americans to move away from. It is the #1 place with the highest educational gap between blacks and whites. It's the #1 place with the highest pay gap between blacks and whites. It's the it leads the nation in mass incarceration of its black male population. Milwaukee has incarcerated over 55% of its black male population. Like, I could keep going. These is not stats to be boasting and get a job in Lexington about. Like, no, you were terrible.
Right.
And the city has deteriorated over your 18 years here. Crime has went significantly up. And they try to make it seem like crime has went up. No, that's not true. Look at the numbers. They all there for us to see. Now, it bothers me that we could have in the same year articles that come out and say Milwaukee is the #1 place for black and brown people to move away from, the worst place to raise black and brown families. But then you still have an article that comes out and says Milwaukee is the #1 place to visit and the #1 place to move to. For who? For who?
It can't be for those same people.
Come on, and under who watch? All of these fucking, excuse me. Like, come on, man. We gotta quit BSing with ourselves and letting people play in our face and piss on our legs and tell us it's raining.
So all those emotions that you just showed, like that was the reason why I ran for office. I ran for assembly. You know, there were some issues with nomination signatures, which which was just an organizational error on my part. But that community is something that I'm still like invested in heavily. You know, it was the 8th Assembly District. I feel like the elected officials who were in position, or even the leaders who were in position at that time, like let so many years pass without any significant change. And I saw with what I was empowered with through Urban Underground, all the trainings I went through, all the skills that I learned, I knew how to mobilize a community. I knew what needed to happen, especially in this community that I grew up in. You know, I grew up on the South Side. I know all these elected officials here. I know all the business owners. I know the informal leaders, like the artists, the people who are actually like tapped in with the youth voice, who have their attention. I know like public school teachers. My sister's a MPS teacher, you know, on the South Side. Like, I'm tapped in with all those people, and for me to just see another person in that position, not even know any of those people, not tapped in with any of those people, not connecting any of those people, I threw my hat and said, this is what I'm going to do. At this point, I don't know if I'm going to plan on running again. It's always something that, you know, I think about that could be there in the future. But right now, I'm more focused on entrepreneurship because I know I could make a change that way. And, you know, in one way, I could pay young people, give them workforce skills, you know, and then tell them my truths on like what I did after high school, to college, high school, or whatever it is. You know, I have these experiences to kind of like help lead them into the direction they want to go. So, and it's been very effective from like my understanding. You know, some people are running their own business, some people are in college, but they're using the same skills that they learned here at this workplace. So I see you as an entrepreneur, and you're doing some dope things in the community. So one of your big projects is impacting a community that needs to be impacted. You're impacting it in a positive way. Can you talk a little bit about like your entrepreneurship and then some of the projects you got working on?
Yeah, so we working on got a few things we working on. Most recognizable right now is the community within the corridor development. It's a $67 million development on 32nd and Center Street. We're redeveloping the old Briggs and Stratton site. It's going to have a $118 million economical impact on the area. It's going to be 197 residential homes, accompanied by a Black therapist cohort to deal with trauma response and just therapy for Black and brown people that are not only in the building but live in the community as well. We'll also have a laundromat, grocery store, the creative corridor, which I'll be over operating, which will have about 4 podcast studios, 4 recording studios, 2 main recording studios, streaming, film space. We'll have a dance studio. We'll also have a grocery store, a laundromat, sports complex, and a bunch of other amenities as well. But for us, it was just about like really changing the energy in the area, an area that really needed the investment. When you had Uncle Tom for 18 years saying, "Don't worry, Northside, the development will come. We will focus. We just need to focus on downtown first." And so forth. It's like, well, no, I just feel like now you playing with me. It's like, but it was also like, all right, if you know somebody playing with you, what are you going to do about it? So it's like I could sit and complain about Tom jacking in my face, pause, whatever, you know what I mean? I could sit and complain about all of that, but what am I going to do about it? And like, I can't expect Tom Barrett to come and actually physically do something that will change the North Side.
Right.
I could only expect him to say things that sounds good that will come to the North. So we had
people
to
would
go
just
do
leave
our,
it alone.
Yeah, so
Right.
we had to go, because nobody's interested in that side of town. So unless it was Bronzeville, you know what I mean, close to downtown. But yeah, it was me, my partners, Q Alamine and Michael Wesley. We saw fit to do something about our own communities and not really wait until somebody tells us, hey, you should be doing this. So we started to do it ourselves. As I said, my goal is to help retain and elevate talent here in the city. We have the narrative that you need to leave the city in order to attain any level of success. And they say that's due to the lack of resources and platforms. I find that to be extremely false. in this city, we have just allocated these platforms and resources historically a certain way to where the usual suspects are the ones receiving said resources over and over again, so it doesn't really hit the folks that are doing a lot of the great work. So yeah, man, still doing music. Gotta focus on music. Still looking on helping other black-owned businesses. I'm really putting emphasis on elevating black women-owned businesses. I really want to see more black women and help more black women do some amazing things in the city and outside of the city.
I think that population is the highest in this year.
Entrepreneurial demographic, highest growing demographic of entrepreneurs.
And has the highest graduation. Yep.
Yeah. Most educated generation and the most entrepreneurial generation right now is a black woman.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
And you got anything coming up, like any new music, any new projects?
Man, I just put out a meditation project called Melanated Mantras. It's just really just some positive affirmations for black and brown folks, kind of like just to get us through our days. Once again, that was an experimental project going back to the conversation we had earlier saying that everything is so accessible. Mm-hmm. So now I made my own beats. I was like, I'm going to start making beats. I've been doing artistry long enough. Like I need to be doing something else in the industry other than just trying to be in front of the camera rapping all the time. And that's how you extend your life in the game too. You start doing other things. But yeah, I made the beat, recorded it at the house, and went straight to TuneCore. And it was like, all right, this is 2022. We don't have to do all of those other things. And one thing I do want to say too, man, is stop listening to people about when it comes down to your dreams and your visions. I know this ain't even had nothing to do with the conversation, but stop listening to people when it comes down to a vision that was given to you by God, the Creator, Allah, Jesus, Yahweh, whoever we believe in. Like, believe in the vision that was given to you by your Creator and don't listen to anybody else. I say that because, and this is just a personal story for me, this is when I was transitioning from like bow rap, wanting to get back into my culture, doing more Caribbean Afro beats type music.
You got one song I'm looking for still.
Oh, which one?
I've been sending you it for the past 2 years.
Dang, okay, I'll make sure.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Is it it can't be the Creative Lover joint.
I don't know. I just remember you were speaking with like your accent from your home.
Okay, it's got to be. I know which one you're talking about. I'll send it over to you.
You finished that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you gotta put that up.
The Pura Vida
Yeah, this
record.
one.
Oh no, I never
that
finished
one's
that
fire.
record.
You can go
never finished that
viral on that one.
But yeah, man. This I'm gonna say his name, Bobby Fisher, my homie Bobby Fisher, executive. He worked with Trey Songz. He was executive of Empire, and you know, like it's somebody you look up to, right? And I'm telling him, like, Bobby, man, I'm about to do this Afro beat stuff. I sent him a couple of records. He's like, man, these records cool, but he's like, I think, man, the Afro beats lane, it's really only got like a year in it. Now, keep in mind, this was like maybe 8 years ago now. 8 years ago, I'm sending him this record. Damn near maybe 7. And he's like, oh, man, I don't know, man. I just don't think that's really going to fast forward to last year, 2021, I see him promoting the Peru record with Ed Sheeran on it. So I was like, oh, man, I thought you said that this shit was dead, Bobby. He's like, you couldn't respond. So I say all of that to say, like, these people don't know. They get paid to think and act like they know. So what you know is what you need to move on. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and then that brings me back. So, like, when I organize, it's almost like a sales job, right?
Yeah.
So we call it like casting a wide net, right? So we would cast a wide net, and we don't know what type of fish we're going to catch. But if you cast a small net into a place that you know what type of fish are, you're going to catch those fish. So when I think of like marketing, and I think of, you know, you're talking about this different type of music that you wanted to kind of like start to do, I realized that everybody's making music that's palatable for the same music that everybody else is interested in. So if there's 30 people making the same music for the same crowd, that crowd's only going to buy one or two music.
Right.
But if you decide, like, you know what, I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn left and tap into this network because they got 1 million followers, they got 1 million people there, and I might get a tenth of that. But here, I'm not going to get any people. So let me just go that way, tap into them, collect my coins there, collect my fish there, and just have their ears. I'm winning because you guys are competing for the same position.
Yep.
I'm tapped into a different demographic, and now this is world music. So only people are listening to your music regionally or locally. But I got a small amount of local people. I got a small amount of regional people. But I got hella people overseas or in a different place.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I think about when not only about music or marketing. I just think about businesses. You know, trying to find different niches, trying to find different things that you might be interested in, and just, you know, finding a different way, and sometimes that might work. So I like what you said about that.
Yeah, man, you just gotta, like I said, man, like, don't tell people too much too. And then especially if it's something you know, like, I think we get caught up in the allure of individuals and the titles that they hold. So we put a lot more respect on that allure than the respect that we should have for our vision and our own dreams. So, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I kind of like, I was taken back, so I kind of like didn't go as hard at my Afro-Caribbean stuff because you think this person knows. You think, like, oh, they in the industry. But then you sitting back and you seeing now Afro beats is the #1 damn genre, and you like, these people don't know shit. Stop allowing people to derail us from our mission.
So that's one thing I think about too. Like, when I think of like Milwaukee music, I think you and Corey Piper are in a unique space. Not only because you all have like attention here in Milwaukee, but you all have that connection to an island. And this is just something I think about all the time. Like, if y'all just tap into that, you're gonna blow crazy. Like, especially him, he has that Hawaiian stuff going. If he just put on a Hawaiian t-shirt, he's smooth. Stop rapping, you know, start singing. Sean Kingston vibes.
No,
you know?
I dig it.
And then same with you. I know you got the little bees in your hair tapping into your culture. Like, MO.
Make me feel Puerto Rican. His hair make me feel Puerto Rican.
But that's the type of stuff too, like, because people are gonna be like, oh, like, what's different from him? What's different from Looney and Chapo? Nothing really, just their voice. But what's different from Ray and Looney? Well, they can connect on the same stuff here, but at the same time, Ray is this. He's foreign, and that's something that's unique and dope. You're bringing a different perspective, different sound, different vibes, and different messages. So that's something that all people are always like able to like consume that better and feel like they should support it more.
Yeah, I receive that.
But yes, so I appreciate you doing this. I know we talked about all types of stuff.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I think we got everything today. I appreciate you doing this. You got anything you wanted to like talk about or shout out anything?
Man, follow me on IG at Ray Nitti, RayNitti. Ray Nitti, RayNitti. That's IG, Facebook, Twitter, all of the social platforms. Also look out for the community within the corridor. First tenants move in July. We should be completed by the end of November. And hit me up if you're trying to be down with the creative corridor. We're looking for a bunch of creatives to tap in. And I just want to challenge everybody to do something good and unexpected for somebody else. As much as you can, because the world needs it. And quit littering, man. Quit littering. That's what I want to shout out.
Pick
Stop
up that
littering.
garbage.
Damn.
No, I appreciate that.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so check out all that stuff. Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Peace.